What if your camera lens could focus as fast as your own eye? No noise, no gears, no heavy glass elements grinding back and forth. Just instant, silent, perfect focus. That's not science fiction. It's a reality of technology that's about to completely reshape our understanding of photography. This isn't a lens with moving parts. This is a lens that focuses with liquid and electricity. It's a concept so revolutionary it could make the most frustrating part of photography disappear, especially when it comes to the world of extreme macro photography. Hi, Steve here. Let's get into it. Let's talk about the problem. A modern high-end 100mm macro lens is a mechanical marvel. It's packed with precisely ground glass elements that have to physically move to shift focus. Tiny motors and complex helical systems push and pull these heavy elements. It's elegant, but ultimately a brute force solution. And it's slow. When you're trying to focus stack in the field, you're fighting this mechanical reality. Even the best camera hits a wall. Their automated focus bracketing modes are often stuck at speeds 5 to 10 frames per second. Some high-end mirrorless bodies can push out to maybe 30 frames, but even that's not enough. An insect breathes, a flower petal trembles, and your entire stack of 150 images is ruined. You spend more time deleting photos than keeping them. For most people, handheld stacking is basically impossible, and you're trying to stay perfectly still while the lens is physically churning through its focus range. Your flash can't recycle fast enough, so you get inconsistent lighting across all the frames. The result? Blown highlights, weird exposures, and motion blur that no software can fix. You end up chained to a tripod with a motorized rail that costs hundreds or even thousands of dollars just to mechanically inch your camera forward a fraction of a millimeter at a time. It turns the living, breathing world into a sterile studio subject. We squeeze just about all the performance that we can out of these mechanical lenses, and they've gotten sharper motors and gotten much faster, but we're still hitting hard limits of physics and friction. So to move forward, we don't need a better motor. We need to get rid of the motor entirely. So, what if a lens had no moving parts? What if it could just change focus just by thinking about it? That's the core idea behind the liquid lens and the science that makes it work, and it's called electrowetting. Picture a tiny sealed chamber inside a lens. It's not filled with glass, but with two liquids that don't mix, like oil and water. One liquid is conductive, like salt water, while the other is an insulating oil. It's a droplet. That oil droplet is the lens. Normally, the surface it rests on repels water, so the oil sits with a specific curve, but around the droplet is a ring-shaped electrode. When you apply a voltage to that electrode, something incredible happens. The surface instantly starts to attract the water-based liquid. This pulls the conductive liquid inwards, which squeezes the oil droplet and changes its shape and curvature instantly. And by changing that curve of that droplet, you change the focal length of the lens. It's an almost perfect imitation of how the human eye works. Your eye doesn't have motors or gears, it has ciliary muscles that squeezes and deforms the natural lens in your eye to focus. Electrowetting does the same thing, but with an electrical field instead of a muscle. It increases the voltage, the curvature change, decrease it, and it changes back. And it isn't happening at the speed of a motor, it's happening at the speed of electricity. The response time is measured in milliseconds. This tech isn't just theory. Companies like Corning are making industrial liquid lenses for machine vision systems that need blazing fast and durable focusing. We've even seen phone makers like TECNO putting liquid lenses in tech into their periscope cameras. This allows for macro photography with a telephoto lens, something that was basically impossible in a phone before. So we know this stuff actually works. The question is no longer if, but how far we can push it. Now let's bring this idea back into a 100 millimeter macro lens. Imagine a lens that looks and feels totally normal, but inside a liquid cell is doing all the work. What does this actually let you do? Well, first, let's talk about unlocking new possibilities in magnification. Getting more than a 1-to-1 life-size magnification on a traditional macro lens means adding more bulky extension tubes or other accessories. A liquid lens, by enabling a new optical designs, can make getting to the extreme microscope level detail much more fluid and integrated experience without constantly having to change up your set. But the most profound change is speed. Remember that agonizing slow focus stack process, the 5, 10, or even 30 frames per second limit? A liquid lens isn't bound by mechanical friction or inertia. Its speed is limited only by how fast you can pulse electricity and how fast your sensor can capture that image. This opens up a potential of focus stacking at speeds that were previously unimaginable. Think about capturing an entire 50-shot stack in a blink of an eye. What would that actually mean? A bee lands on a flower. With a traditional lens, you might get one shot. Maybe its eye is sharp and its wings are a blur. With a liquid lens, in the time it takes you to press the shutter once, the camera could fire off a 50-shot bracket silently and instantly. It would capture a plane of focus running from the tip of its antenna across its eye, down to its body, actually to the veins in its wings. All of it perfectly sharp, handheld, with a living, moving subject. The terrible keeper rate that plagues macro photographers could vanish. The wind can blow, the insect can twitch. The capture is so fast and effective that it freezes the moments in three-dimensional focus. You would no longer have to agonize over choosing aperture for depth of field versus sharpness like f8. You could just shoot at your lens sharpest aperture, say 5.6, and let the liquid lens speed handle the rest. This completely rewrites the rules. It frees the photographer from the tripod and the rail and the frustration of failed stacks. It could transform macro photography from a slow, methodical process into something dynamic, creative, and spontaneous. This technology is on the cusp of changing everything, and not just for macro. So what's the most frustrating part of focus stacking for you? And what would you shoot if you could have a lens this fast? Well, let me know down in the comments. I'm really curious to hear your ideas. And if you're interested in the future of camera technology, make sure you subscribe so you won't miss what's coming up next. Of course, building a pro-grade 100mm macro lens with this tech has its hurdles. And right now, most electrowetting lenses are small, designed for industrial machines or tiny smartphone cameras. Scaling that up to an aperture size needed for a full-frame lens is a huge engineering challenge. How do you keep the two liquids perfectly stable over a large area? Now, how do you stop gravity from deforming the droplet and creating its own optical flaws? Reliability is another big question. Electrowetting lenses can be vulnerable to failure at high voltages, a risk that grows the size of the lens. Engineers are already tackling this, developing new organic solutions and materials that work more reliably with larger lenses, and with recent breakthroughs through producing stable, centimeter-level liquid lenses. Then there's optical quality. A simple liquid droplet alone won't match the quality of a modern prime lens with its many corrective glass elements. The answer will be likely a hybrid design, a mix of traditional fixed glass elements to handle the major aberration correction, paired with a liquid lens cell that handles only the focusing. This would give you the best of both worlds, the optical perfection of glass and the impossible speed of liquid. The road from a concept to a production on the shelf is always a long one, but the promise of the liquid lens is undeniable. It represents a fundamental shift on how we think about our focus, from a physical, mechanical action to a purely electronic one. It's a technology that's not only faster, but also more robust and completely silent with no moving parts to wear out. We're at the point where mechanical camera lenses have been perfected, but it's still bound by the laws of physics in motion. The liquid lens breaks free from all those laws. It offers a future where the camera is no longer the bottleneck, where capturing perfect, infinitely sharp image fleeting moments isn't a matter of luck, but a matter of course. This isn't a new kind of lens, it's a new kind of photography. I hope I've given you some things to think about when it comes to the future of macro photography. If you've enjoyed this video and want to see more about photography, both theoretical and in real life, like and subscribe to this channel. Until next time, this is Steve, and I'll see you in a future video.